This week is about what do I deserve? Which are my boundaries? And which relationship do I want to take to the next level? Welcome.
So, hi there Aries, and welcome to your modern shaman Maria in RainbowLand, here with the weekly forecast from the 15th until the 22nd of October 2018. Let us see what we have here. We have our energy, fire energy. Wow, nice. So for you guys this week, it's a special report because we actually have two sections for you, because I started 2 nights ago by the fire during the night filming the Aries, English Aries report. I do English and Spanish, and I finished it, one section of it, but then it was too dark, no, not too dark, but too late. I got too tired, and then I had a whole day of having to deal with other stuff. So you're actually gonna get 2 sections, longer analysis for the Aries this week, only the English Aries. So there'll be another section in the end as well. So this week it's all about relationships. This is the last week of relationships we're dealing with, because it's the last week of Libra. Oh, look. Wow, isn't that beautiful? So it has to do with powerful changes in what we choose to close down for and what we choose to open up to in relationships. So you make some very, very, very important relationship commitments this week. We have approximately 4 weeks of going through each sign, a little more, but 30 degrees, 30 days, plus minus. So this means that there's some levels. When we enter a sign, we start with the first levels, and then as we go through the signs, we graduate slowly. So when we have this last week of Libra, we are of course at that level where we have seen, when we start the season, when we started it 3 weeks ago, we started by seeing who am I in relationships, what do I feel, what is it about me and others, what is it that I want, etc. And then as it comes along, you integrate, okay, then what do I have to say to this person in order to make this change? What do I have to say to that person in order to say goodbye or hello? So it's a lot of changes we need to make in our relationships. And of course, since we have Venus in Scorpio, the ruler, it's on a very deep level. So we will make some very big relationship commitments this week. Some will be married or engaged, or some kind of contract we will make with other people. It can also be, and this is a relationship contract, of course, so it can also be with a business relationship, a business partner. And of course, I know that contracts, for those of you who know about astrology, then you know that contracts are something that you do not sign during a retrograde, but it's only the Mercury retrograde when it's in relationships, because in a Venus retrograde you can do that. So here in the beginning of the week, you may go into the week thinking about what is it that I want, starting to plan it out, and then who don't I want in my life anymore, and how am I going to say this, and how am I going to put my boundaries? Because of the Scorpio part, it's all about boundaries. You'll hear that more in the end of the report. So what boundaries am I going to set? And as we go through along the week, then the contracts are going to be made at the end of the week. Starting out at the beginning of the week, Sunday, Monday, etc., where we have Mercury conjunct Venus at the beginning of the week. We're going to be clear about it. There'll be a clarity. Okay, this is what I need to do. This is what I'm no longer going to put up with. This is my reality. This is what I need to change, because there's a lot we need to change. One thing is to realize it, the next is the work. So we have to do it. So new beautiful contracts will be made, where of course whenever we take a risk, it feels scary, because when we take a risk, of trying something new. It's something we don't know what's gonna bring, but the risk is the only way to make a change that will give you the benefits and the rewards that you will truly gain from. So a very interesting week. And also at the same time, it can also have something to do with the strategy you want to have around this, and yeah, maybe you're open to certain things that you want and other things you are not open to. You're gonna maybe negotiate a little bit about this. There's a lot of questions inside of you. Which lifestyle changes are you gonna have to make in order to have this new life? Because if you're having a new partner, there's a new lifestyle that you have to adjust to as well. It may be even you have to remodel the situation at work, like if you have your own business or you are the clients that you're with, like how can you apply these new relationships you have with you know the old habits, the old way of doing things. Maybe if you're committing to a new relationship, it may even mean that you're gonna have a baby, and where you're gonna live then and how you're gonna do it. Maybe you're gonna have a baby within your business, so that there's a new project that's gonna be born. Maybe you're gonna have a new cat or dog, or things to change along the way, but of course not just like this, but a new contract and a new commitment is gonna be made this week, Aries. Just want to say to my Aries friends out there that remember that we are the fighters. We are here to fight, and if you're on this channel, you're here to fight for love. So all the powers that we have, all the stamina, all the energy that we have, we can use that in a beneficial way. It's very important, especially now with the Scorpio energy, that we don't turn it into something destructive. So now is the time for us, Aries, to really use our energy in a constructive way, where we listen to our hearts and our higher selves and do what we came here to do. Yeah, I'm with you. Well, so the collective part of this week, it will be a talk where you look upon beautiful things that I'm filming from the air, places that I love, that are charged with spiritual and divine energy. Don't you feel it? Yeah, I think you do. It's both at my home and very close to my home here in Denmark. Our home, I mean, of course. Yeah. So let's see. This week, well, I want to start with actually Mercury, of course, because Mercury is the main character of this week. He's conjuncting Venus in the beginning of the week, and he's squaring the node. So, and actually, I just want to say about Mercury that he's retrograding from the 17th of November to the 7th of December. So we will have a Mercury retrograde coming soon enough. So we have Mercury squaring the node. So this has something to do with, are you actually going to, I mean, in your life, are you actually bringing forth the childlike, more playful, heartful side of yourself? Or are you more like, because Leo is where the North Node is, and are you going to be like the more rebellious, radical, and genius Aquarius? Which side to choose is what it's asking really new now. So, but we have to know that the South Node is, of course, are we really going to get anything out of being radical and rebellious now that the South Node is here, even though Mars is also here? Because Mars indirect in Aquarius is gonna wanna, go into these wild, weird worlds where we can express our deep, radical selves, But I don't think it's a great idea when we have the South Node here where we are not supposed to go. So, well, the question is also: are you really who you think you are, or is it just an identification with an ego that you have built a house upon, a rotten fundament? Like, is it really time now to find out who you really are? I mean, we are dealing with our trouble sides, of course. And we have Chiron in Pisces, so it's also about the guilt and the shame of all the things that fell apart in our lives, and the most sensitive things and the most intense feelings and emotions on a dramatic level. Like, feelings are changing. And this Mercury-Venus conjunction Monday evening here in Denmark, with Mercury in Scorpio, we are here. He's investigating things on a deep level, not only just on the surface or in the mind. It's on the most deep emotional level, and he's kind of like, he wants to investigate so much there, so much more intense than other places. So he's trying to find a better suggestion for a life plan, for what we want, and how we can manifest deeper, more real understandings of, like, we're trying to understand and see the deeper layers of life here, and we're going to discover these deeper unconscious layers of ourselves. So, but the question is, again, with this bipolar sign of Scorpio, which ones take us to the higher realms of consciousness and to our open heart, and thereby to true love, right? Which ones doesn't? Which ones are like taking us down bad paths with bad people for us? Weird and ugly stuff. Because Scorpio is, of course, his transcendence from darkness into light, and yeah, he's just like these beautiful things that can come out of it, and a force that can push forward. But he's also the ruler of sexual things like diseases and obsession and dominance, and things that the darker side of our nature. So with Jupiter here, it's just like multiplying things by 5. You might take it a little too far with these taboos in life, because he can be a bloodsucker, this fella. So these signs, with Mars are in Aquarius, in a fixed sign, and Scorpio is also a fixed sign. They know what they want, and they are kind of radical, and they're in a square. So with these two in a square, we want something so crazy and out there, but at the same time, we can also choose the more pure side. And this is the bipolar choice we have to make with all the Scorpio. And October, November is wild months, and Venus hasn't even reached the 4 degrees where the crazy zone is at. But now because the 4 degrees was also where we had different things going on. There's some long story, don't want to go too far into that, but around these degrees are the crazy stuff. And now we're starting to understand what this Venus retrograde is actually like for us in our lives, more concrete. We are on the way down into the underground, and we are asking ourselves, okay, how much deeper down into the SHIT can we come? Because we feel, now we took a step. But some of the steps we take are also putting boundaries to other people, saying yes, no to other people. And there's also this fear of, do they then respond and come back to us and give us some SHIT? And do we then have a battle? Because Scorpio is such an aggressive sign as well, right? So, yeah, it's also dealing with this fear. Keeping the innocent side of you alive, keeping the heart open is very important. And the question is, again, are you really who you think you are, or are you just identifying yourself with your ego? You have to find out now who you are. Well, again, but Scorpio is pressure. The sign of Scorpio is pressure. Pressure to grow no matter where we are. We face ourselves, so we think that it's other people, that it's about other people, but it's you're facing when you're meeting resistance. Right? It's you're facing, and you have to dare in Scorpio to be who you really are. And when Mars in Aquarius at the same time wants enlightenment, but then you have to deal with your SHIT if you want that. And Venus in Scorpio is asking, like, are you escaping? Are you hiding? Are you cheating? Are you stealing? Are you lying? Do you feel and follow yourself, or you follow others and their idea about wrong and right? I mean, in relationships, if we don't try to change ourselves now, nothing, this Venus, is going to happen. You have to look upon how you can change. And Mars and Venus in square, which is still repercussions from it now, in this week, like, our relationships are changing. They're not the same as for 10 years ago. But we all have both Mars and Venus somewhere in our chart. And the one is more conscious than the other. And that side we suppress can, in a square situation, sneak in on the other more conscious part of you. So you really have to be aware of, are you more masculine than feminine or feminine? And once the opposite side of what you are more is going to come about, then you know, okay, I may have to feed this side that's out of balance. That is the last week of Libra. You need to see which side in you are out of balance. Are you always giving? You need to learn to be the receiver and get your yin energy, your feminine side out. And most of us have too much masculine. We are giving. When is the time for you to receive? Venus wants attention now. Give it to her. Be vulnerable. Dare to be sensitive. Dare to feel. Dare to be. Let your feminine side out. Doesn't matter if you're a man or woman. I'm not talking about gender. The feminine side. And so basically what we're doing now is we're renegotiating our relationships. We're investigating our relationships. We have to change. I mean, we're being detective. We have to change boundaries, and it can feel really weird. So like 2018 is all about, changing on a personal level, clearing out old karma. The inner world is getting cleared, of course. So these huge changes in inside of us is what this week is about. And last week of the Libra season here, it's all about the balance out in the relationship. So it's time to get what we deserve also. Time to draw some boundaries. Libra, Scorpio. So the moon is going to be in Capricorn over Pluto first. And that's the death of a new era. Starting Monday, Tuesday. And then the moon is going to be in Aquarius, and where we really, we detach from all the chaos around us, because we can just say, oh, F it, I'm not in it. I'm out here in my mental world. And then we're ending up in Pisces at the very end of the week, we enter a new moon phase in the traditional astrology with Aries, and the moon Monday, Tuesday. And then the moon is going to be in Aquarius, and where we really, we detach from all the chaos around us, because we can just say, oh, F it, I'm not in it. I'm out here in my mental world. And then we're ending up in Pisces at the very end of the week, we enter a new moon phase in the traditional astrology with Aries, and the moon is in Pisces. We have to rely upon God, right? So this is a week we're clarifying things, changing things, and we're detaching, and then ending up with a more intuitive side, right? So fate, destiny is on the table when we are talking also about Capricorn. So it's with Pluto, there's subconscious pushes towards the motives that we have, and we have to notice these signs that comes in our lives from our higher selves through our intuition. And in the Venus retrograde, we are listening to them more, because the Venus is the feminine receptive side is more here. So we take the time to listen to the more spiritual side of ourselves also. In Scorpio, also because of the domino effect of everyone else doing so, then the energy is there. We are in that classroom here on Earth. So first off, in Libra, we were establishing the balance with our inner stuff, and the relationship with ourselves. Then. And then in our relationships in regards to other people. And now, this week, it's more like specific relationships that are the really important ones we're working with now. Find the right soulmates. Find the right teammates at your work, in our lives in general, of course. And we are following the emotional part. We're following the intuitive parts, the heart now. And so this is new territory we're walking upon. And if you have a hunch and an intuition about something or other, so if something you feel about people, then follow it, You're breaking through this week, and you're starting to see the opportunities that you didn't see before. And we live in a new ascensional level. The quantum physical world that was introduced to us in the zeros, to many of us light workers in the zeros. I remember even in the late 90s, it started really coming up, like because both of my parents are librarians, so I got it. My father's critic as well, so I got the books from him, and I just remember, like, anything right now we can get that we believe we can is possible. If you can see it, it can happen. But you have to know and see and feel that it can happen. There's so much information to get from the Akashic Records, the Universal Library of Info. Just tune in, just log on the internet, the spiritual net, and you get information. I was born with Mercury in Pisces. That means that I don't rationalize as much as you might think. Of course I also do, because I have a lot in Virgo, but I primarily get my info from my intuition. And this is what we can do with quantum physics. We can enter this information where we can also things and make them go much faster as well. A quantum level and a quantum degree of going through processes at a much faster level. We can change things just through a decision, right? We are not that limited as we thought we were. You're coming on a deeper level in relationships too, and you can really use this information that I just gave you to move forward faster. Because all of this week is a part of this relationship change. So new alignments in the world and in your world is coming. Definitely, I'm positive about it. And you know, the Venus-Mercury conjunction Monday, you're really gonna see how things where things are broke and where they have to be fixed, and you'll see how you can where you have to go towards and where you don't have to go towards. So the old can tempt you to go back, but you have to take a heartful decision and go forwards. And yes, that creates a risk, but who ever gained anything if it weren't following their heart and taking risks? You have to take a risk this week and do something about things. You cannot sleep upon it anymore. Time is now. Stop procrastinating your life. It's your responsibility, no one else's. If you don't do something now, you have lost the train and the chance. Don't sacrifice your boundaries either. If people overstep your boundaries, say something. You don't have to make a speech. Say it shortly. A well-set boundary is a boundary set. This you don't do anymore. You don't even have to say period, because that is just in the air. And people are like, yeah, but this you don't do anymore. Of course, if the person really wants an explanation, okay, I can give it to you, but I have to let you understand that this is my boundary. So in the beginning of the week, we are kind of like divorcing people and having the final conversations with the ones that aren't going to go on the train with us or on the flight into the new realm and world we're doing in relationship-wise. And yeah, so you have to look upon the boundaries, of course, then, and of course the emotions will intensify some this week and then also get a little unclear at times, but you just have to trust the process, right? So ask yourself, what is it that I deserve in my life? What do I really want? With whom do I belong? Where do I want to be? And what do we want to really do with our lives? So at the beginning of the week, you look upon what are the possibilities for me, and at the end you are like, okay, these were my possibilities, now I do it. This is the one that I'm committing to. These are the people. This is the one I want to marry. This is the one I want to do business with. This is the one I want to have kids with. This is the one I want to be friends with. This is the one that I want to start a family with, build a project with, have a friendship with. And then once you've seen that at the beginning of the week, then you go for it. At the end of the week, you say to that person, yes, you're the one. Let's do this. And you take that chance. There's a Rumi saying, goodbyes are only for those who love with their eyes. For those who love with their heart, and soul, there's no separation. So don't be afraid if you have to say goodbye. It's all good. It's all good. Don't follow trends, follow your heart. Thanks for watching. Namaste. Hi there, Aries, and welcome to your modern shaman, Maria in RainbowLand, here with the weekly forecast for the week that starts at the 15th and ends at the 22nd of October 2018. Look where I am. By the fire, our element. Isn't that nice? So this week the main character is Mercury. Mercury in Scorpio. He is squaring the nodes. And before he did that, he was in opposition with Uranus. So something changed, something was opened up. Uranus always seeks tension, so wherever there was tension in regards to your self-esteem, your self-worth, your habits, your preferences, your values, and your money, something to do with your money, was opened up because Uranus is seeking tension. Seriously, my legs are getting burned. It's hot, but it's also nice. I have Chiron on my Mars, so my knees are injured. Anyways, it's not because I want it to be about that. But Mercury here, it's now 8,000. Mercury wants to rationalize. Mercury wants to think and be able to think, and he was doing good in Libra, and last week he moved into Scorpio, as I told you guys. Let me see if we can even get enough light here, because the flames aren't that big, and I don't want to burn my hand either. So this is okay, I think this is okay. And if you don't see me, you hear me. So Mercury, he wants to think, and he's feeling best when he can think and rationalize and categorize things. He's the communicator. This is the way we move about and communicate with other people. This is usually through talking and mental stuff, but in Libra, for example, where he came from, but now he is in Scorpio, where we are dealing with intense feelings, you know. Scorpio is a sign of power. You know, if you were isolatedly speaking with a lot of Scorpio, it's always the one that wants power over others, right? It can be obsessive, etc. So this means that squaring the nodes, and we have the south node in Aquarius and the north node in Leo, our 5th and 11th house. This means that his Mercury's bad sides are coming up and being showed to you through, for example, can be fear, of course, we all know that, but I mean, as astrologers anyways. It can also be jealousy, because if you want power, as Scorpio wants power, then of course you can also become very jealous. Scorpio is also in the darkness. It goes into the darkest chambers of us. That's why I found it appropriate to sit out here in the darkness so you can see the dark side of me. So it wants to show and reveal us where our dark sides are. And we need to accept them and transform them, because our relationships will never, ever, ever change, with Venus here as well in Scorpio, unless we change. For some reason, our egos always want us to believe that it's the other person that has to change. Isn't it funny? It's never the other person. You change, and then you see what happens to the other person. Maybe that person leaves because you have changed, leaves your life. Or once you realize what the other person keeps telling you to change, and you change that, then miracles will happen, because often or always the world is a reflection of us, right? Let me just remove something. No, I can talk a little later. It's just that the fire is, soon I'm gonna have to do something with the fire. So it's squared. It's squared by the nodes. So the south node, which is what we came from, what we're good at, where we already went, but also the downside of us, where we shouldn't go back is in Aquarius, and in Aquarius we're dealing with our friends, our groups of people, you know, organizations we're a part of, like a big group of people where you're all there for the same cause. Like for example, I do heartfulness meditation, so that could be that's my group of people. That feels like family in a friendly way. Those kind of people, or friends, maybe the ones that are actually confronting you with this issue that you actually need to deal with. Or it could be your lover, because the 5th house is there as well. So it's either maybe you're getting told, while Mercury, instead of thinking, can only feel the intensity, feel the jealousy, feel the fear, feel the anger, feel all of these things and transform them into light. Perhaps, as I said, being triggered by friends, groups of people, or your romantic partner, also your children, because the 5th house is also children, or some creative project that you're having, or if you have your own business or something like that. So now comes the fire. And I'm pretty close. I don't know if you can see it, but my shoes are pretty close to the fire. Well, maybe a little too close. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. I didn't burn up. So, Scorpio's pressure. And since we both have Mercury, Venus and Jupiter here, there's a pressure put upon you. It's now that you have to grow. It's a pressure to grow. It's really a pressure to take your dark sides and put them into the fire. And often we think we are so good, and but we're not. We need to understand that the people who tells us stuff that we need to change are right. We planned for them to come. We cannot even say that, oh, now you're pressuring me. You're putting pressure on me. I don't want this pressure you're giving me because you say that you want me to be like this. Well, you ask for the pressure because you have it in your chart and you planned your chart. So if someone is telling you to change on a level where you do know that you should change, but you're like, no, I want more time. No, you're not getting any more time. We have 3 planets here, and Jupiter is not coming back in 12 years. And this retrograde Venus is not coming back in 8 years. So this is now you have to change with the things that are getting pointed to you. We all do, and we all have this task. With this Mars-Venus square that's been going on, Mars and Venus, as I said last week, well, they're the couple of the zodiac, right? And they're in square, so they don't completely agree about how things can be. Mars is in Aquarius. Mars here in Aquarius, now on new territory, wants enlightenment. Mars wants to be enlightened. Mars wants to reach newer, higher stages on his spiritual path. But he's not getting an enlightenment on this. He truly works on himself. And he doesn't understand it. He's just assertive. I'm already there. I'm so good. I just need to do a little bit of this and that, and then we're fine, fine, fine. But he doesn't he realizes that the pressure he's been under for many years, well, he's not constantly under pressure, but the thing that's been going on in the zodiac for many years, for many of us, I mean, I can mention 2012 and many other dates, but it's created for us to break open and not. That is the pressure. The pressure is supposed to be there. The pressure was there for you to see that whatever you thought was someone else's fault was all something created by your higher self. Maybe you taught something to someone else as well through this process, but trust me, if something happened to you and you feel like a victim, well, this situation is showing you some weaknesses that you have that you probably don't want to face. But now is the time, and I tell you, big time. And in Venus and Mars is, of course, always in our horoscope somewhere, right? So the question is not if they are always, because we always have all the stars in the sky. So the thing is that often in our horoscopes, one of them, Mars or Venus, are more conscious than the other. So the other works unconsciously in us and can create a havoc or other things. So we try now, since we have the Libra new moon, had the Libra new moon last week, and we have Venus, the ruler of Libra and Taurus, going backwards into Libra again during the retrograde. Then it's about finding a balance and harmony between the two, but they are not balanced right now. So one part of you is suppressed, and that part, or not suppressed, but working, festering in darkness, if working without you being conscious about it. If this is Venus, which is, it could be, since we're talking Aries and our ruler is Mars, but it can also be Mars, of course. But if it's Venus suppressed, then she will now come to the surface with this square and tell you, have you been cheating? Have you been lying to yourself and to others? Have you been jealous without wanting to admit it? Have you projected your own things into another person, where you said, oh, it's not my fault, it's someone else who did this and that, where you actually didn't even realize that you were lying, stealing, cheating, flirting with someone else, and thinking, oh, I'm all pure, or stuff like Scorpio stuff. Where it's under the curtain, and you don't, because it can be very well be unconscious stuff. And here in Scorpio, we are digging it all out. So of course, it's also about putting boundaries. But if someone else is crossing your boundaries, and I have a lot of horoscopes with that now, personal horoscopes, and I've tried it also in the past where people come with me, with that. Oh, and they're always crossing my boundaries. Believe me, you are definitely also crossing theirs somewhere. You just need to find out, where are you crossing other people's boundaries? Because if they're crossing yours, you can be sure that there's somewhere in you where you are either doing the same or inviting this to happen. And often we don't even know where we are crossing boundaries, I used to think, oh, I'm such a balanced person that I never, I'm always so kind and blah, 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 and I'm an idiot sometimes, I know that. I was thinking, and so it was not like that, but I didn't understand why people were crossing my boundaries. And I realized, amongst one thing that, for example, I would, how do you say when you cut someone off, someone was speaking, because I'm so impulsive with Mars and Aries, and the Sun in Aries, I'm like, okay, people would speak and I get all excited and I'm like, and then I talk when they're talking. That's very much crossing a boundary. So I try to see, okay, I'm crossing their boundary with this. And I worked with that because I didn't see it before. Try to realize where you are. This was just an example. There can be many other ways to cross people's boundaries. And then you may think, that's just a conversation. That's what you normally do. Actually, that can be really, really frustrating, because it's like you're not listening to what the other person is saying if you are constantly interrupting. Then we're not listening properly. So that is crossing a boundary. But that was just one example. Let me go to the moon phases, but I have to rest my arm just a second. Before we go on with the moon phases, I just want to say, with the things that you can have been doing to other people, that you need to realize is that maybe you are dominating in one of your relationships, because, as I said, the Scorpio energy wants power, wants to possess, it wants to be the one who has the power over someone else and dominate the situation. And very often we don't realize that we are dominating a situation and saying, like, for example, if you put ultimatums, if you tell people that, well, if you don't do this or if you don't do that, I'm just gonna freak out and yell and shout so that you won't do it again. Or maybe some people will even hit someone else, or just ignore. That's also a dominating thing. That is just passive aggressiveness. Like if you leave or just always hang up the phone or refuse to answer, that is very aggressive, but just in a passive way, and dominating. That is domination, and it's also yeah, just in general, if you scare someone, like if they do one thing, you make sure that they feel so scared that they won't do it again. That is Scorpio domination. You know, you need to know it the rough way, and then that's a Scorpio kind of energy. I'm trying to think about all the different ways. It can also just be through manipulation, of course. That would also be the Scorpio. Of course, Scorpio has so many beautiful things to them as well, but as we know, it is the sign of darkness. So, and for us, Aries, it's in our 8th house. So, where we can transform the darkness into the light, but only by realizing the darkness, the subconscious, and then we can transform it into the light and create very deep relationships. But we really, really need to work upon ourselves to do that, and to create these depths in the relationships can also create some kind of obsession and domination as well. So it's always a fine balance with this Scorpio, and of course it can also have something to do with shared resources, money, etc. Like, if you feel like other people are cheating you or taking your money, you have to look upon what is going on, how and why. Has this got something to do with boundaries? And often when we need to learn a boundary because we have had too little of a boundary somewhere, then once we finally set the boundary, we have a tendency to, you know, if the pendulum has been very much to one side, then once we learn and try to find the balance that Libra wants us to right now, it will go completely to the other side, and suddenly we are the one who suddenly are the oppressor, who suddenly is the dominating one with the money. Like, if someone else tried to dominate you money-wise earlier, then suddenly, oh no, now I'm in power. Someone was in power over me before, now I'm in power. So be very careful once you try to learn what it is that you cannot do, that you then find the middle ground and don't take the role as the suppressor, or the one that did something to you towards the next person you're with. Because if we are the one being dominated, it means that we also have the dominator in us. It's the same energy it comes from. So we have to watch out. If you're like, oh, I was always the victim and someone else used to always dominate me, yeah, well, then you are in that same room where the domination is taking place. Now you just have the role as the oppressed. You could very well be the oppressor next time. So really be careful. Anything in Scorpio is pointing back to you. Whew. And that was true, because the fire just said yes by making a big thing here. So this is getting to be a long report for the Aries this time. Now to the moon, but I have to rest my arm again, said the chicken. So I found a better solution. I will tell you about the moon while we're looking into the fire. I can just show you how dark it's grown, because you can't see anything. So I am in the Scorpio darkness, and how I love it here. I was never afraid of the dark in the forest. Well, I was when I was younger, but the forest is actually where you go into the depths. So in certain ways you can also say there's something Scorpionic about it. If you dream in your dreams that you are deep within a forest, that is because you go deep within yourself, in your subconscious, in the deeper hidden layers. And once I'd been in there and seen myself and the bad and the darkness, I was not afraid anymore to be in the forest at night alone here with the fire. Because that's when we find out that the fear and the darkness and these things, they come from ourselves. We create these fears, or we got them from our parents, from our past, and now we need to shed them. So it's so important, instead of just staying in your fear, staying in, oh, I'm you know, oh, this situation is so bad, I'm like, oh, and it's, you know, you can also choose to make any process faster. Of course we need to respect the cycles and the rhythms of our body and the universe, but there's no need to hang on to stuff for so and so long. Well, it was so bad what my mom or my dad did to me, or my ex-husband or my ex-wife, or my brother or sister or whoever, that, oh, that will take, at least because it was so awful, it will take so and so long. Well, you also decide how long it's gonna take. We have quantum physics, and it's soon enough it will be a knowledge of the old world that we are so restricted by time putting things into fixed time frames and time scales. Because really with quantum and our thoughts and our willingness to clean something fast, we can manifest it. Someone named Babaji once said, if you only knew how strong your thoughts were, you wouldn't dare to think. That means that if you actually dare to think, then think that it's possible that you can get out of your role as a victim now. Did you get that? That's what we can do now. We have reached an ascension process on the earth. It's not like it was 10 years ago in our relationships, or 20 years ago. Portals have opened. We can manifest things and clearings much faster now. If you're younger, you know this, because a lot of the younger people incarnating, they're more aware of this. It's more the older souls that keep on being stuck to Saturn, time. Things can go at the speed of lightning, if you dare to trust and believe it. On to the moon. So the moon this week. The moon this week. I hope you got what I just said. It was very important. If not, then go back again. You can manifest your way out of your victimhood or your process. It doesn't need to take so and so many years because it did so to your neighbor or to your father or whoever, mother, and da da da. We are new times now. Times are moving fast now. You decide to stay in your prison or release yourself. We need to move faster now. We have an earth to ascend. And we have a job as light workers, not to get stuck in old situations and keep being the victims. Chiron is in our 12th house in Pisces. The wounded healer, oh, it wants to say, oh, I'm the victim. They did this to me. Now I have to suffer here for so and so long. That is Chiron in Pisces in the 12th house. And then Neptune is there as well, where we hand over the process of clearing to God. We don't try to figure it out. We hand it over to God. And by God, I don't mean a lot of religions and stuff like that. I just mean creator, what made us all. There's no separation in that word. The ultimative, the creator, whatever you want to call it. There's so many names. Reality. The moon starts this week off in our 10th house of career, work, business, Monday, in Capricorn. Here she will have met up with Saturn, and then she's moving on to Pluto. So we are definitely again looking upon ourselves, because it's squaring down to our sun, our identity in terms of who we are in the world, our face in the world, our career, our goals, and the difficulties we face about them. Maybe we are trapped in a situation where we don't feel like we can be truly ourselves in the jobs that we have. That we cannot show our face 100%, or we don't do exactly what it is that we really want on a soul level. And that could come up this week. I'm not going to mention all the things that the moon will go through, but only the basic and the most important things. It will be in a good aspect to the planets down there in Scorpio as well. This means that from Monday and until Wednesday, you have a good chance of really trying to alter these things on a deep level that I told you about before, when we talked about Venus and Mercury and Jupiter and Scorpio, and your more darker sides, that you get to be honest with yourself and try to transform, work with it. And then we move into Aquarius and Pisces. Aquarius Wednesday and Thursday, and here he will meet up with the notes and the square to the things going on in Scorpio. Like, for example, communication-wise, you might find yourself in a difficult communication situation where you're talking to someone who gives you a knowledge about something that you maybe don't want to look upon, something darker with you or your money situation or something like that. Then he moves on to meet up with she moves on to meet up with our planet Mars and give us a little energy. Phew, a little cold. I better put my legs closer. give us a little energy, but at the same time also give us maybe some emotional experience, and then maybe it won't be as easy to be emotional here in Aquarius, where it's rather like wanting to seek enlightenment and liberation from personal emotions. Then moves into Pisces, where we're purging stuff, needing to rest more, meditate, do meditation as we reach Friday, Saturday, and also partially Sunday. So actually it's kind of a spiritual week for us, like from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but starting out with the square things, it might start out a little difficult Wednesday, but then you're seeking more and more enlightenment, and finally you release and surrender, goes into the purging, and you really start to clean and clear out on a deep level if you let it. Now's the time, people. Seriously, release. And then ends up in Aries as we start off the next week. So it's kind of like the end of a moon cycle, or it is the end of a moon cycle this week, where we start another month, a 4 weeks process with the moon, as we come into next Monday. I'm sorry. So that was all for me. It's from me to you this week, Aries. Remember, you can subscribe to the channel. And share it if you want to through the share button on the different medias. Yeah, thanks a lot for watching. See you next week. Oh, forgot it, almost. Don't follow trends, follow your heart. Main thing, yeah. And card of the week for the Aries. I will try to draw without having to the camera. And remember not to be obsessive about other people in your life. Everyone has their journey, whether it's your kid or your boyfriend or your girlfriend. You don't own them. They have a soul journey. You cannot obsess and change people. Card of the week for the Aries. Just because you are afraid, you have to look upon your fear when you want to change someone. It's about your fear. What does it say? It's about... Oh yeah, it's. God. Let me see. I don't know if I can film it, but I can see what it is. So you can't see it in the darkness. It's the King of Swords. The King of Swords. He is mastering mental clarity. He's able to cut the cords with his swords of thoughts that don't serve you. So if you're obsessing about a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife, your children, you have to cut the cord and just do the healthy thing that your intuition guides you towards. Cut the cord to the fear of them not doing the right thing. The fear will just manifest the wrong thing. You have to trust the process, and even if they then turn out to do what you're fearing, or you used to fear, then it was supposed to happen because they didn't know better. So either you need to leave them, or if it's your children, well, how are they to learn if you are always constantly, as we talked about last week, because we are in that Scorpio season where we're obsessing about our partners, our children, etc. We need to release them. They need to learn to find their own boundaries. The children and the husbands and wives. If your relationship isn't as stable as that you can trust that they are not cheating, are you then in the right relationship? And otherwise you have to look upon something in yourself, if you're fearing that, to see if it's really something to do with reality right now, if it's something from your past. And what I said about the boundaries and your children is that, yes, you have to set the boundaries, of course, in their lives. That's very important. Because boundary time, Scorpio time is always boundary time. But they have to learn from their mistakes as well. So it's a fine line between always showing the right boundaries, of course, in your life. But you cannot curl your way through their life by always wanting to, secure. How are they going to be independent then? They will never be independent. They will be the weak people if you don't let them do stuff on their own as well. Of course, it's a balance. If you show them love, if you show them care, but you also need to show them that you trust that they can take care of themselves. You need to show your partner that you trust in their fidelity. And this King of Swords is cutting the cord to old thoughts, so you are able to master your mind and only choose when you want to use it, so that it don't take over and control you. And then you cut the negative cords, also maybe to other people that has had the possibility of draining you with little, you know, draining, sucking, not snakes, what do you call it, pipes into you, sucking your energy. You cut the cord to these people and you just tell them, here's the boundary, I don't want this anymore, I'm strong. So, congratulations, Felicitas Franz from Germany. You won the half-an-hour free astrology reading with me this week. I have been choosing one person every week to win this contest, and I have been doing a reading with someone, an amazing Scorpio in the United States, and then it turned out that I had another Scorpio in Colombia. And this time it's an Aries that won the contest. But I'm gonna take a short break with the contest where I do 3 readings for the winner, where you share my videos. You can of course still share them if you would like to spread this free helping hand for spiritual souls that I'm giving through these reports. But I'm gonna go into a transition phase where I'm also gonna have a silent week at a very special meditation center. Heartfulness Meditation Center in Denmark, where I'm gonna be on a retreat where no one is gonna come and talk to me. I'm just gonna be all alone with nothing in 7 days, and therefore I'm slowing down on certain things with my job also. Yeah. But remember, you can subscribe to the channel, like it and share it if you want to. I have to say these things. We want to spread the good message. I do this for free, use 3 days every week, to help you guys, Spanish and English, all of your signs, to guide us all along the way on the path towards enlightenment, towards the city of lights, towards reality, our higher self, and what we came here to do, the path that we have, and what we came to do for each other and ourselves. Same thing.
There is this angel saying, I'm gonna find my way back home. The secret is love, he said. You've got to lift yourself up, try again. One day you will break through. What you long for will find you.
Don't follow trends, follow your heart.